I welcome everyone to the channel. This is a new story where Naruto is a new Akatsuki student. Also I have Boosty where Lemon comes out Naruto. I advise you to subscribe, link in the description. Chapter 1. Have you ever been betrayed by loved ones? Have you felt the chilling blade of a knife sharply piercing somewhere in the area between your shoulder blades? Have you felt the poison of betrayal poisoning the blood, corroding the veins and arteries from the inside? Has an abyss opened up in your chest, devouring all feelings and emotions? If you are not familiar with these sensations, then you have the right to call yourself the happiest person in the world. My name is Uzumaki and in a few moments I will die from great blood loss, although in fact, I feel like I am dying from that very friendly knife in my back. My body was pierced through and through by the hand of a former comrade, whose face lit up with a crazy smile. Scarlet drops seep through clothes, flow down the body, leaving crimson trails, and quietly break into the water. We are located in the heart of the valley of the End Lake. Once upon a time, the great warriors Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara fought here. True, that time the representative of the Uchiha clan was defeated. Now the situation is treacherously opposite. The body gradually becomes numb, the limbs are cold, despite the warm weather, the mind is clouded with a heavy fog. Blood quickly fills the mouth, preventing breathing, and seeps through the parted pale lips. The lungs are feverishly trying to saturate the still warm body with life-giving oxygen. The heart, weakening from each beat, beats an even faster, but already fuzzy rhythm. The realization of the inevitable breaks through the viscous stream of broken thoughts. Few people have seen their death in the face. Maybe they saw it, but they will never talk about it. My death was always nearby. South close and, it would seem, always so unattainable. And now her bloody eyes, sparkling with the pride of a winner, contemptuously peer into my face, as if trying to find something that only she knows. A weak breeze plays with the raven-colored curls, and the usual contemptuous mockery touches the lips. Uchiha Sasuke once again, with the elegance characteristic only of his clan, defeated his opponent, pulverizing him into dust. Lord, how painful it is! With the pleasure of a seasoned sadist, he slowly pulls his hand out of my body. A sharp pain and burning forced me to come to my senses before the world began to plunge into darkness again. The Uchiha holds my half-dead body and clearly enjoys the last beats of someone else's life in her hands. The damned Sharingan went out, revealing to me the bottomless blackness of my eyes. The head, as if it had grown 1,000 times heavier, sank limply onto his chest. Below us are layers of water, stained with my blood. The Uchiha has enough chakra to keep us both afloat. I suddenly imagined how, having played enough with my body, Sasuke throws the corpse into the lake and disappears forever. This body of water will remain the last earthly refuge, carefully laying my bloodless body at the bottom. The people of Konoha won't be upset about the death of the stupid idiot, and maybe they won't even notice my disappearance. People have always hated me. In general, the cause of a person's hatred can be anything, from his gait and manner of speaking, to his ideals and outlook on life. In my case, this reason was the ancient thing that was sealed inside me. Outcast mark on belly, a spiral and 8 branches coming from it, to this day does not allow me to forget about the hidden fear in the eyes of everyone who has ever spoken to me. The Uchiha runs his slender fingers into my blonde hair and pulls it up, forcing me to look into his eyes. What does he want? I am no longer able to continue the battle. Cold eyes peer into the soul with the same cold contempt. How much hatred is there in this soul, the color of which is no lighter than the color of his eyes? Sasuke clutches his blonde locks in his bloody hand until it hurts, curling his thin lips. Sooner or later you had to die, the Uchiha spits out. There is no place in the world for such worthless idiots, Uzumaki. I really want to answer him. To say that a spoiled boy pretending to be a lone avenger is actually worth nothing, or to hit backhand, breaking someone else's lips, to shout in the face that no one needs the last proud scion of the clan. I want to laugh sarcastically, burning out all his weak points, scattering his plans and dreams with ashes. I want to feel phantom tingling sensations in my fingertips, but my strength has completely left my body. All I can do is look furiously at him, mentally dragging him along with me to the bottom of the lake. Blood gushed out of the mouth with renewed vigor, cutting off access to oxygen. Sasuke turns gloomy, but I no longer see his hopeless eyes or his alabaster skin. A disgusting squeak is heard in my head, becoming louder with every second. Because of the cloying taste of metal, nausea began to roll in hot waves on my tongue. The Uchiha unclenches her hands. Loud splashes, and persistent touches of ice water all over the body, the last thing that stuck in my memory. The eyes cannot open, air does not enter the lungs, arms and legs stubbornly pull to the bottom. The water takes away the pain, gently lowering it deeper and deeper, soothing with cold and silence. And in this pleasant silence I can only distantly hear people talking, someone's laughter, someone's screams. The viscous darkness is gradually filled with colorful fragments of memories. Chapter 2. I will never forget the human hatred that the villagers generously showered on me from early childhood. The sound of my name is for them nothing more than an unusual synonym for the words demon, leper, nonentity. People have always despised, hated, shunned me only because someone third after my birth decided to use the newborn body as a vessel for the nine-tailed monster. From the very beginning of my earthly journey, I have been forced to carry within me an endless supply of rage, concentrated in an ephemeral cloud of energy. I didn't dare to do any kind of antics in order to attract people's attention. I dreamed of proving to everyone that this child, whose tousled hair was constantly shimmering with the sun, and whose knees did not have time to heal from constant falls, was the same person. It took a long time for the paint to rub off from my face and fingers after I generously smeared the Hokage's stone figures. If I'm not mistaken, that prank cost me a severe reprimand for damaging village property. In the small cunning eyes of Old Man Third, always hidden under the shadow of the red hat of the village leader, one could read poorly concealed contempt. From time to time, lazily scratching his gray beard, Hiruzen had small talk with me, smoothly flowing into the usual moral teachings and discussions about morality and the duty of a shinobi. A vicious circle of lies and mutual aggression consumed the innocence and purity of the soul, separating me from the other children. The heavenly color of my eyes increasingly burned with ice when I accidentally noticed my reflection in the glass of shop windows. The idea of constant loneliness became so ingrained in the daily flow of events that I got used to it, ceasing to be horrified by such a situation. Yumino Irika became the first barrier that prevented me from falling into the abyss. One of the few who believed in me, and the only one who extended his hand. Sensei was ready to give his life for my skin when the scoundrel Mitsuki tried to deceive me. Irika put himself in danger in the literal sense of the word. No one had ever done anything like this for an outcast before. After that mess, Irika gave me his protector. In the metal plate I saw the reflection of a child's face, wet with tears. Such a modest, but immeasurably generous gesture gave me hope that someday I would achieve popular recognition. The Shinobi Academy opened its doors to everyone, including me. At first, the learning process was quite monotonous. Students were taught reading, writing, mathematics, geography, and other sciences. We learned how to handle weapons at the Academy's training grounds, and we also had classes in taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. In general, all training came down to the formation of strategic skills and prudence of shinobi, without which it is impossible to win in battle. I did not become an outstanding student, I could not even come close to the title of Pride of the Academy. Unlike Uchiha Sasuke, who ironically became my teammate. A talented student who survived the massacre of his own clan, he seemed cold, despised those around him, and did not allow a single soul to approach him. His marble, pretty face was always covered with a touch of slight contempt for the world. Sasuke proudly considered himself a loner. But what can he know about loneliness? Always surrounded by crowds of beautiful fangirls and the patronage of teachers, the Uchiha continued to play hard to get. And I envied him. I envied the talent, the heaps of fans, the condescension of the management, even the envy of the other students at the academy. And what a surprise it was when the brunette announced that the murder of his brother, this is the only goal, almost the meaning of his whole life. Having been a street child since birth, I considered this goal impossible and unforgivable stupidity. This was partly the reason for the frequent brawls and fights between us. I wanted to bring the arrogant person down to the ground and prove to myself, first of all, that I could really do it. But the Uchiha was never easy, and every time it ended with broken faces, deep cuts, minor concussions, or lacerations. As a constant instigator of fights with the best student, I was a big problem for the entire academy, and my authority, which was already lying at the bottom of the sea, tended to zero. You might think that I know nothing about life except hardship and envy. This is not entirely true. Falling in love was once present in my life. Her name, Haruno Sakura, still feels like an unpleasant pang somewhere in my chest. A kunoichi from my team with piercing eyes the color of young grass. She wasn't incredibly beautiful, easygoing, or kind, but there was something about her that touched the boy's heart. Sometimes, looking at her soft pink curls, always smelling of cherries, or her clean clothes without a single wrinkle, I would gasp from the tenderness growing somewhere deep inside. Sometimes I thought that my monster was buried alive under a layer of cherry blossom petals, representing my first feelings. For some time I continued awkward attempts at courtship, slipping in the desire to protect, support, make me laugh, be close, but each time they boiled down to curses and beatings from Haruno. She was in love with Sasuke, was one of his herd of fans. Roughly pushing in the chest, trampling modest bouquets of flowers, stolen at night from neighbors' flower beds, first love hurt like no other. Looking at the back of the girl walking away with her chin proudly raised, my cheeks burned with fire, and I knew that it was far from a matter of a sharp slap in the face. Tired of the daily routine, I went to the Hokage. It seemed to me that team missions for weaklings were boring to the point of impossibility. I wanted more complex tasks. Oddly enough, not only did they not throw me out of the residence, but they even went to a meeting. The next task of increased difficulty for Team Number 7 was protecting the carpenter Tazuna. Everything was just smooth until the moment when a tall figure of a swordsman of the fog emerged from the fog. Then, standing in front of the mountain of muscles of Momochi Zabuza, I only thought that the burden of responsibility for the entire team lay on my shoulders. Let Haruno trample me into the mud over and over again, let Uchiha burst with independence and pride, let Hitaki be disappointed with the third part of our team, let it all be so, but I didn't want them to die under the blade of Momochi's wide sword. The trap of Haku, Zabuza's partner, became a real test for our team. The boy easily pulled Sasuke into the mirror prison, who was no longer helped by either the vaunted Sharingan or the clan's fire techniques. Seeing the helplessness and confusion on his usually proud and calm face, I, like the last fool, rushed to save him. Of course, the idea to help Sasuke in any way turned out to be a failure. And at a moment when it seemed that life depended on how fast Haku's needles would reach me, the Uchiha took the blow upon himself. Sasuke Uchiha, a local star, the future of the village and a role model for children, sacrificed himself to save me. Not for the sake of Sakura, not for the sake of the sensei, not even for the sake of the unfortunate carpenter, the brunette allowed sharp icy needles to pierce his sinewy body. Of course, I couldn't afford to stay in debt. The sight of a half-dead comrade for the first time in my life made the ancient power sealed within me tremble. The world lit up with red lights, surrounding us both. The muscles felt like they were filled with lead, and the mouth felt tight from the growing fangs. A shiver ran down my spine at the sight of curling fingers and lengthening nails. But the most intoxicating feeling among this chaos seemed to be the feeling of limitless possibilities. It was like I was in danger of exploding if I didn't start moving. My inner monster shared a piece of power that kept entire villages in fear. I remember that I was ready to tear each enemy with my bare hands, biting into the throat. A mad thirst for blood filled his mind. I wanted to scratch the skin until I was stupefied, tearing the muscle fibers hidden underneath it, and revel in the hot scarlet viscosity. I haven't experienced anything like this before. The details were erased from memory, but I certainly did not cause the death of the swordsman and his comrade. They died at the hands of others, cleanly and quietly. Sasuke quickly recovered after the mission, and I naively believed that something more than constant quarrels would begin to arise between us. The Chunin exam consisted of 3 stages. The meaning of the first one is still not clear to me. They set up a dummy test, and when I angrily expressed everything I thought, they congratulated us on passing. At the second stage, you had to get 2 scrolls and stay alive. In the forest, someone named Orochimaru was able to catch Sasuke in a genjutsu, and here for the first time I saw real horror in the guy's eternally cold eyes. Nukenin gave him a curse seal of power, deftly and securely tying the guy to himself. The old scoundrel knew that the spoiled boy was greedy for free power. So many people made it to the 3rd stage that it was decided to carry out an additional massacre in order to weed out the weak. My opponents were Kiba and his faithful dog Akamaru. I won the battle, although the guy who smelled like dog hair a mile away knows his stuff. For the next, final fight, I needed new knowledge. The set of techniques that were in my arsenal was too poor for a battle against ready-made chunin. I begged Kakashi to spend time with me and teach me something useful. But what sensei would want to waste time and effort on a mediocre student? So Hatake didn't waste his time on the idiots, preferring to train with the best part of the team. I trained with Ebisu until I caught the eye of Jiraiya. One of the 3 legendary Sannin of Konoha, the hermit in a short time molded me into a much more intelligent shinobi. Victory in the next stage was only a matter of time. A few days later, Neji Hyuga, genius of his clan Uzumaki Naruto, was defeated by no one. This event slightly excited the public and made me believe in myself, but the true victory was the praise of Jiraiya, whose authority increased to the skies in my eyes. But the Uchiha did not get the coveted victory so easily. First, he had to chase the fleeing Gaara through the forests for a long time, then the Sand Killer, who had turned into the one-tailed demon, gave him a fair beating. The guy turned out to be a Jinchuriki, and I was suddenly drawn to him. I finally met someone who was just like me. At that moment, I was overcome by a thirst to know this man, to find out whether he was just as lonely and persecuted, whether he had goals and hopes, whether he would become a person capable of lightening our common burden. And I managed to reach him. Temari and Kankuro took their defeated brother back to the village, and I was left lying on the cold ground with a smile, asking myself under what conditions we will see each other next time. And next time will definitely happen. While we were having fun in the forest, the village was attacked by troops from the Hidden Sound and Hidden Sand villages. The enemies retreated after our return, but Orochimaru killed the 3rd Hokage. It rained relentlessly all day as the village gathered for Hiruzen's funeral, mourning their leader. Team 7's next mission was to find a new Hokage. Before leaving, Jiraiya taught me a technique called rinnegan. To this day, I consider it the best thing I ever learned in Konoha. During the same period of time, people in black cloaks with red clouds came for me. That's how I learned about Akatsuki. There were only 2 of them, but their gut told them that they had enough strength to destroy a good half of the village. A blue thug with a huge sword quickly put everything in its place, declaring that they had come for me. The second one remained silent, impartially looking at me with painfully familiar cold eyes. When the younger Uchiha appeared at the end of the corridor with a Sharingan and Chidori at the ready, I immediately realized that the second criminal, this is the very mythical brother who needs to be killed. If Sasuke was considered a talent, a genius and everything like that, then his brother seemed like God to me. Not a single muscle of his face flinched as he turned the flashing lightning away from him, deftly pressing his brother into the wall. Stupidly similar, but so different. For some reason this thought stuck in my head for a long time. This brawl would probably have ended with the fried ass of Sasuke, distraught with anger, if Jiraiya had not appeared in time. Soon we set out to find our future Hokage. How surprised I was when this quarrelsome woman called us fools and refused to accept the post of head of the village. Out of anger, I challenged her to a duel and, of course, was treated like a nut. With great difficulty, but still I achieved her respect, and by giving me her grandfather's necklace, Tsunade became the 5th Hokage. The burning sensation in the eyes turned into a sharp pain that surrounded the entire skull like a belt. The optic nerve inside the eye seemed to be turning inside out. Such pain cannot be compared with anything. Having been drowned for 5 minutes, resigned to my fate, I suddenly wanted to extend the minutes of my life. There is no air, causing the lungs to begin to contract helplessly. I make attempts to scream, move my limbs, do at least something, but nothing comes of it. Fear suddenly squeezed my throat like a dead man's grip. I want to live. This thought lit up like a bright star in the night sky. I will find millions of reasons for happiness. I will have goals and dreams. My life will be filled with meaning, just not to die now. For a moment it seemed as if the water pressure was decreasing, and after a while I was already anticipating the quick air that so desiredly filled my lungs. It's as if some force is slowly pushing the body up, laying it on the surface of the water under the warm rays of the sun. Coughing and wheezing, I greedily gasped for life-saving oxygen. Never before did I think that such a simple pleasure would make me feel like the happiest person. Having given myself a break, I continued to lie in the coolness of the water and enjoy the warmth of the sun, pleasantly scorching my face. Gathering my remaining strength, I suddenly opened my eyes. The burning intensifies again, causing tears to immediately gather in the corners of my eyes. Despite this, I noticed the smoke hovering over the lake and the incredibly vibrant nature beyond. The sky, trees, rocks, and the water itself seemed to be sprinkled with gold, so they blind the eye, forcing you to squint. Large blood loss makes itself felt by the weakness that has arisen in the body. The surroundings become cloudy again, blurry, the eyes close limply, and the noise in the head intensifies. I desperately wanted to fall asleep, at least for a few minutes. A second before I lose consciousness, I managed to notice a tall red-haired man in black clothes dotted with red spots. He is rapidly approaching me. Chapter 3. I've been wandering around in pitch darkness for so long that my legs are starting to buckle from fatigue. How long have I been here? And, more importantly, where is here? This darkness weighs on my consciousness, frightens me with the unknown, but I continue to move on unhindered. The usual rustle is not heard from the steps, the screams do not echo deep into the space, but the feeling of someone else's presence, someone else's gaze scurries under the skin, giving off goosebumps. And suddenly I hear a heavy, drawn-out exhalation, filled with disappointment. I've caught faint notes of unjustified hope in Sensei Kakashi's breathing enough times to now mistake it for a simple lack of air. Someone watching me from the void was clearly expecting more. As if to confirm these thoughts, a huge eye opens in front of me. A network of small vessels entangled in proteins stretches towards the bright red iris, framing the elongated pupil of the animal. My gaze deftly slid lower and, passing the bright red fur, stopped at the massive fangs crowding the eerie mouth. Just about to have a bite into two parts. The predator doesn't blink, just looks at me expectantly at arm's length. The cold emanating from the fox penetrates to the bones, and I hastily grab myself by the shoulders, trying to retain the remaining warmth. A contemptuous mockery flashes in the demon's eyes, and he begins to emit a quiet vibrating sound, quickly turning into a full-fledged growl of a hungry beast. It gets so loud that I have to cover my ears with my palms and sit lower to the ground. Everything suddenly became quiet. The feeling of the heaviness of my own body began to bring me to my senses, despite the fact that my head was exploding from the just surging sound attack of the nine tails. Barely moving my fingers, I feel the roughness of the fabric on which I am lying and the softness of the bedding. I bend my knees with difficulty and hesitantly raise my palm to my face. It was as if I had been beaten for several hours in a row, otherwise how could I explain the physical weakness? Naughty fingers immediately stumble upon the rag hiding his face. What is this? Why is this? Throwing away the unnecessary object, I opened my eyes. Everything started spinning like a whirlpool, and I started to fall into a doze. But I don't want to see the embittered fox at all, and gathering what remains of my strength, I sit down on the bed, still not opening my eyes. The cold bites my bare feet and I barely touch the floor. The noise in my head gradually subsides, clarifying recent events, the intensity of which makes me swallow nervously. If everything is correct, then why did I wake up not at the bottom of the lake, but in a musty room? And how could I wake up after such a thrashing? Panic slowly but surely begins to bloom in your chest. So what do I have? It is unknown how the body remained in a functioning state, which someone carefully took out of the swamp and transferred to the dungeon, the atrophied vision and the biju who hates me. The situation is not at all pleasing, but at least I'm alive. I raise my palms and feel my face. Hot, painful to touch. Apparently Sasuke did a good job, once again honing his blows on him. Surely everyone is covered in cuts and bruises. The skin is cracked here and there, the lips are dry and rough. Remembering the decisive wound, I immediately lower my palms to my torso and feel for the bandage that obviously covers the wound. How did I survive? Obviously it wasn't the fox that was treating me all this time. Besides, I'm wearing someone else's clothes, albeit a few sizes too big, but they're soft and warm. A second wave of panic forces me to try to open my eyes again. The heart, driven by adrenaline, accelerates the blood throughout the body. It becomes hot. Come on, Naruto, you have to get out of here. Opening my eyelids slightly, I listen to the sensations. My head is not spinning, the noise in it is not getting louder, good sign. Now you can assess the size of the disaster with your own eyes, so to speak. My feelings did not disappoint me. I was clearly in a cave without a hint of windows or fresh air. But the strange thing is that this grotto looks quite cozy and lived in, clean linen on the bed, a wooden bedside table nearby. In one of the four corners you can see a clothes hanger, and in the opposite corner of the room there is a wash basin and a small mirror above it. Opposite the bed is a rather massive wooden door, next to which the flame of a torch danced provocatively, the only source of light. It must be much more effective than that tiny candle in my closet if its light illuminates even the darkest corners of the space so brightly. I spit on weakness, rise to my feet, and carefully step on the cold stone towards the mirror. Trapped in a stone coffin, narrowly escaping death, but still worried about his appearance. As practice has shown, self-irony the best way to survive daily hardships. Having somehow hobbled to the fragment in the wall, I almost fall from the suddenness. In the meager reflection, a swollen blonde face with scratches and bruises with huge lilac eyes looks at me. Another wave of sticky fear overwhelms me to the very top when, with trembling fingers, I pull back the skin around my eyes and begin to peer into these circles. As a child, I loved to go outside after the rain and run through the puddles. Once again, scaring off all the passers-by with my grimy face, I sat down at the edge of the road and, out of boredom, began throwing pebbles into a huge puddle. So, the circles on the dirty water, emanating from the very center, exactly repeat the pattern that appears on the eyeball. Stepping back from the mirror and breathing loudly, I lower my gaze to my palms. My breathing is more labored than before, but I continue to study the vague flickering, which immediately turns into a clear image: blood vessels, blood movement, muscles and ligaments, bones and chakra flows entangling the nerve endings of the fingers. It was as if a picture, schematically drawn by the teacher on the blackboard during the next lesson, came to life. Something hot and disgusting flowed down my cheeks and dripped from my chin, preventing me from completely losing my composure at the sight of holding my own palms. The persistent smell of iron hit my nose, and the burning intensified, forcing me to hastily walk and fall on the bed. Having scanned the entire surface of the bed with my palms, I lift the bandage and cover my face, awkwardly rubbing the blood over my cheeks. So inopportunely awakened despair, with a vile whisper from the depths of the soul, incites that the point of no return has been reached. Obviously, I can't show up to the village like this. I don't get much favors anyway. Crossing my arms over my chest, I frowned. What does this mean? The Uchiha not only beat me half to death, throwing me into the lake, but also caused the awakening of this. Of course, I'm not a fool and I know about all these legendary dojutsu, abnormal eyes with a bunch of cool skills, but what does that have to do with me? The Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan profit from this from century to century, but not Uzumaki Naruto, the owner of an indoor demon that no one wants. Trying to distract myself from heavy thoughts and growing irritation, I untie the bandage on my torso and feel the oblong scar. It doesn't hurt at all, although it takes a lot of time to recover from such an injury. Either I'm stuck for weeks or someone really cares about my condition. My memory helpfully brings up the red-haired figure I saw on the lake. It is quite merciful to help the weak, but for what purpose? Doesn't he know who I am? Quiet steps outside the door echoed in my head, and frozen in place, I heard the creak of the door opening. The rustle of clothes ran through the room, then the clink of an old hanger was heard. Someone slowly moved in the other direction, and the silence is broken by the murmur of water. The stranger chuckled and left the room, not bothering to close the door behind him. With all my might, holding back my heart, I exhale raggedly and lift the blood-soaked rag from my face. Ignoring the tingling sensation in the back of my head from the excessive strain of my newfound eyes, I glance briefly at where someone was wiping. The eye immediately clings to the damned cloak in a red cloud, and the heart, with triple strength, resumes its attempts to leave the chest. Quick steps along the corridor were heard again, but already 2 strangers were hastily heading in my direction. Having returned the bandage to its place, I stretch out my arms and freeze in anticipation. People entered, and warm hands immediately touched their faces, removing the dirty rag. The second pair of palms, feeling larger and colder, began to carefully wipe the dried blood from the fingers. The barely perceptible smell of nutmeg touched my nose, and I gladly inhaled more than I should have into my lungs. Curiosity clouds the mind more than fear. Come what may. I lift my eyelids and see a red-haired guy standing on his knees, working with my hands with a serious look. Huge number of piercings he is literally strewn with it immediately catches your eye. Even the hands are pierced. Does he really like it that way? His dark clothing creates a stark contrast to his deathly pale skin. And this is not at all surprising, without discounting his habitation in a cave. In another part of the room I notice a slender girl with short blue hair standing sideways to me. With an impartial expression on her face, she washes the bandages, deftly squeezing out the water. She is wearing loose clothing, creating an even greater feeling of the fragility of the female figure. But for some reason I think that the redhead's fighting girlfriend is clearly not a mistake. Which mere mortal could survive side by side with an Akatsuki criminal? My attention smoothly flows again to the guy. The lawless man who is so carefully fussing over me does not at all evoke the disgust that was prophesied to us at the academy. Something elusive in the stranger's appearance, maybe his regular nose and tightly compressed thin lips or tousled hair the color of a bright flame against the background of snowy skin, contrary to all the words of the teachers, attracts the eye. Feeling a searching gaze, the young man raised his head, looked at me and called out to the girl. The stranger immediately appeared behind him, but I didn't even look at her, because I again saw circles on the water, because his eyes are the same as mine. Chapter 4. The redhead looks so intently, so attentively, scattering crowds of goosebumps all over your body. His gaze makes you feel uneasy, as if something alien is scratching your skull from the inside. The sensations merge with the guttural growl of the ninetails, clearly dissatisfied with the current situation. The amethyst depth makes you mad. For an indecently long time and openly, I continue to look at the neat pattern on the surface of my eyes, finding neither the desire nor the strength to turn away. It's like we met in a silent duel who will give in first? Finally you came to your senses, the stranger began, still burning holes in me. The rinnegan awakened in time, healing your wound. Otherwise, the end could have been sadder. His eyes ran over my face, warily examining every injury. The girl standing behind him hid her hands behind her back, silently participating in our conversation. Up close, she seems even taller, studying me from above with her amber eyes. Acute labret piercing flaunts under the lower lip, emphasizing a certain rebellious originality. A small paper flower was lost in the blue shock of hair. Despite the feminine appearance, the perfectly straight back and sharp shoulders continually reflect the stamina and coldness of the stone. So it's the rinnegan, right? The greatest dojutsu from the legend of the great sage, passed down from mouth to mouth among ninjas of different generations? For the first time in my life, I regret that I did not become the best student at the academy. I should have skipped classes less, maybe I would have remembered something. Aren't you happy about the changes? The guy asks in bewilderment, counting on a more grandiose reaction. Am I happy? Would you be happy to have unlimited powers in addition to the obscenely huge reserves of the Biju's chakra? After so many years, kick the ass of everyone who dared to trample me into the dirt? Are you happy? Certainly. But now a new problem arises. They fear me in the village, I mutter indistinctly in response, examining the lines on my palms, and now they don't want to deal with this at all. Moreover, who will teach me how to use these things? I can help you. Not a hint of mockery or deception appeared on the guy's gray face. He looks reservedly and waits for an answer. I stole a glance at the cloak, left alone in the corner, and remembered the strange couple of bandits who showed up in Konoha after my soul. He clearly knows me and knows that the situation takes away any possibility of choice. What do you want in return? Anxiety rose with renewed vigor, and I looked around in disbelief at him and the girl, still in control of the situation. Was it just me, or did the shadow of a light smile touch her thin lips? No, this is all unnecessary excitement. You'll stay here, the young man said dryly. Apparently you understand perfectly well who you are with, but your biography is no secret to us, Naruto. It is now unsafe to release such a rare specimen. So, will you help if I join your gang? It is not necessary. You will be supervised and provided assistance if necessary. Quite a modest price to pay for the opportunity to tame your guts, isn't it? Nothing remains. Run to where I'm not expected. Miss the opportunity to master unique techniques? The only thing stupider than pointlessly running after Sasuke is admitting your own powerlessness in the face of new abilities. After all, what am I risking? I will fulfill my part of the agreement, steel clinked in my voice. The redhead smiles discreetly and gets up from his knees. Two pairs of eyes, raw amber and transparent amethyst, they look down on me. The young people exchange glances, as if understanding each other without words. Then the girl goes to the wash basin and brings me a clean bandage, carefully covering the upper part of my face. They walk towards the door. My name is Pain, my new acquaintance throws over his shoulder, almost leaving the room. Young woman, Conan, will bring you dinner in 2 hours. Tomorrow I will introduce you to the others. Now you should rest. Thank you, I say politely before the door slams barely audibly. I don't know who I thank, the future mentor maintainer or his steadfast companion. There is a deafening silence in the room. The confusion seething inside completely forbids thinking about rest. For some reason, this is not the same excitement that I felt standing under the door of the Hokage's office after another prank. It's more like anticipation of something so grandiose that it's scary to even imagine. Although it is not at all impossible that they will make me a new cook or something similar. But still, the combat skills that Pain promises me are too alluring. With gentle palms they turn a blind eye to any difficulties and humiliations associated with obtaining them. Fantasy helpfully depicts Sasuke's face twisted with envy and the silent admiration of Sensei Kakashi, the proud smile of Jiraiya and Irika, the embarrassed looks of the kunoichi and the welcoming gestures of classmates. The pictures are bright, memorable, so light and desirable you just have to reach out and touch. Here I am standing in the Hokage's office, and the fifth, with undisguised admiration, gives me all the reports on the internal and external affairs of the village. So I meet new students who have entered the academy, and I tell them all the heresy that they told us, and now I am already taking the exams for the title of Chunin. No one dares to contradict me, because there is no need for this. I have achieved respect and recognition. And then, returning home in the evening, I usually catch a tenacious purple gaze in the mirror. I get out of bed to somehow calm my raging imagination. It is foolish to start feeding yourself empty hopes before you have yet embarked on the path of harsh training and constant exposure to criminals. Someone else's nobility can end at the most inopportune moment, so you shouldn't relax, swinging on sugar clouds. The ill-fated cloak looks at me mockingly, the bandage hardly leaves my face again. It's as if he's testing his strength, as if he's asking, "How are you going to clear up this mess, Naruto? Where have you gotten yourself into again, Uzumaki?" Go to hell, I stamp on the cloak and immediately grin. Wow, I'm already discussing clothes. Perhaps Pain is right and I really need to rest before Conan arrives. It was not enough for her to see this absurdity after all, he will throw out the eccentric. Having quickly drunk cold water and slightly stretched the muscles that had become stiff from prolonged lying down, I climb back to my place and turn to the wall. To be honest, it makes my hair stand on end when I think about tomorrow, especially the part where I meet my relatives. It is unlikely that the guys from Akatsuki became famous for their noble deeds, spiritual generosity, and righteous lifestyle. Will I turn into a training dummy for the same blue thug who, at our last meeting, tore the throats of the whole of Konoha? Or maybe they'll decide to use me as a footstool for the brother who needs to be killed. The sad thoughts are interrupted by the onset of sleep. Chapter 5. The chilling wind hits your face and penetrates under your clothes, persistently touching your ribs with cold fingers. The sky was reliably covered with leaden clouds, as if not wanting to see the nightmare happening on this mortal earth. A flash of lightning illuminated the destroyed village for a second, followed by a deafening clap of thunder. The short calm was immediately broken by the roar of exploding shells, thrown in a chain along the main street. The bright glow of the explosions illuminated the twilight with an eerie brilliance, making Konoha look even more like a giant torch. A lone figure stands motionless on the Hokage rock. The wind mercilessly blows the hem of the black cloak, trying to inadvertently tear off the robe. Indifference, mixed with a bit of disgust, expressed in a slightly raised upper lip, flashes every now and then on the young face. He tilts his head slightly to the right, causing wind-tousled blonde curls to cover his forehead and streaked cheeks, and crosses his arms over his chest. A line of mangled bodies looms along the streets. Someone met their end under the walls of a collapsed home, not having time to get out of a warm bed. A shell fell on someone, tearing their body to shreds. Someone lost their life with a well-aimed blow to the temple or throat. Still, some, for example, a blood-stained girl with pale pink tangled hair, are trying with their last strength to help those who still have a slim chance of surviving the bloody night. A tenacious gaze fascinatedly pursues a young girl. She gasps and coughs loudly, covering her face with a scratched hand in the hope of somehow sheltering from the acrid smoke that has enveloped the village. A faint green glow appears under the kunoichi's palms when she reaches another wounded man, his limbs absurdly spread out in anticipation of imminent death. The chakra is running low, and the medic understands this. Disobedience is in the girl's blood and will not allow her to give up. She would rather tear the last crumbs from herself than allow the patient to die. A lazy gesture of the hand provokes another explosion, and the Hokage residence flares up like a thin match, taking with it the secrets of forbidden techniques that were kept in ancient scrolls within the walls of the majestic mansion. When the last screams died down, and the rain began to extinguish the conflagration that Konoha had become, a mysterious figure rushed like lightning into the center of the disaster. Raindrops wash a tired face, blissfully raised to the sky. He throws his clasped hands behind his head and mockingly examines each of the 5 stone faces. The empty eye sockets of the Hokage look sadly at the ruins of the once powerful leaf, and as if the sky itself is listening to their sorrows, bursting into another roar. "I'm sorry, Dad," the words that escape the lips are drowned in the rain. "It's a pity for your trampled greatness." A mischievous blue light appeared in the palm and, spinning like a top, rapidly began to increase in size. The guy raises his hand above his head, restraining the rushing power, and, flashing his iris-ringed eyes, mercilessly launches a giant sphere into the proud rock. I suddenly open my eyes and jump out of bed. My body trembles violently when I pull off my sweat-soaked shirt, which sticks unpleasantly to my back. There is bitterness on the tongue, and a complete mess in the head. The tiny mirror surface obediently reflects the feverishly shining eyes. Running my fingers through my blonde hair, I frantically cling to the fragments of an elusive dream. As a person who rarely dreams, it is unusual and therefore even more alarming for me to observe such antics of the subconscious. Questions fill your head like a whirlwind. Just have time to choose. Is Konoha really broken? Where was Fifth all this time? Did Sakura survive? Can I see the future? Why did the guy call the rock father, if the guy? Taking a noisy breath, I sit down on the edge of the bed and, dropping my head in my hands, again immerse myself in the details of the unusual dream. Which of the 4 did the person address? Having recalled the years of life of each leader of the Hidden Leaf, adding to them a frightening external similarity that for some reason I had not noticed before, my brain immediately gives the answer. So did I really call the 4th father? A grin stretched across his lips at the realization of the ingenuity of the subconscious. You have to skillfully cram everything into one colorful mirage. Would my existence in Konoha really be so insignificant if Minato himself were my father? It's funny to believe such absurdity. Nevertheless, some kind of suspicious doubt settles in the subcortex of the brain from the understanding that in every joke there is a grain of truth, and in every dream there is a grain of reality. Unable to fight my thoughts any longer, I leave the walls of the room. Closing the door behind me, I find myself in a long stone corridor. On the wall near each door, which obviously hides the rooms of the gang members, there is a burning torch, the light of which I, as a newly minted owner of the coolest dojutsu, have no particular need for. Without incident, I reach the stairs at the end of the corridor, and I no longer step so quickly with my bare feet on the steps. Having risen, I squint my eyes from the long-awaited sunlight breaking through the only small window. Quickly passing all the household utensils that fill the comfortably lived-in spacious room, I rush like lightning towards a single goal. Almost tearing out the door along with its hinges, I find myself on the street, and time stops. The green sea is overwhelming. The intensity of the colors is almost painful, but I stubbornly continue to absorb the sight of the wild. Never before have I seen such dense forests in or near Konoha. The smells of the thicket immediately mix together, charging me with a thirst for life no weaker than what I felt while buried under layers of water. The sun looks slyly from above, making its way through the thickets of greenery that reliably hide the entrance to the cave, and tender grass pleasantly tickles your bare feet. The idyll is disrupted by an annoying sensation that has appeared, previously unknown to me. The anticipation of something that will happen any minute is tense and makes you clench your palms into fists. I put my left leg forward, preparing to repel an invisible attack that I can almost feel with my skin at a distance of several tens of meters. Feverish heartbeats echo in the head, confusing and alarming sensations. Something alien, filled with dangerous power, is approaching me, causing the hands clumsily covering my body to become covered in goosebumps. "What are you doing here?" A voice is heard, and noticing its owner, I exhale convulsively. Weakness immediately spread through my body, caused by an unplanned surge of adrenaline. Its reserves in the blood will now certainly be enough for a couple of days. I needed to clear my head. "For some reason it seems to me that you are trying to run away cowardly," the guy remarks rudely, without looking away from his mocking lilac eyes. "We have agreed. So why on earth should I run?" I boil in response to such an attack from pain. The guy watches incessantly, as if deciding something for himself. Collision of identical dojutsu, again this silent struggle for primacy. I cross my arms over my chest, trying on the one hand not to succumb to his provocations, on the other protect yourself from the newly emerging ghostly sensation of someone else's presence in your head. With a soft step he comes closer and stops at arm's length. There is a significant difference in height between us, which is why I am forced to raise my head without interrupting our staring contest. "Don't leave the shelter alone," the guy says indifferently, "for your own safety." Carelessly pushing me aside, Payne enters the room without closing the door behind him. I understand the hint and obediently follow him, suppressing the growing wave of discontent inside. Can't I really stand up for myself? In the end, it was like this all my life, and no one stubbornly tried to be my nanny. But he can also be understood, because having missed the valuable cargo, on the first day, and even so absurdly, a dangerous and formidable organization of seasoned criminals risks being ridiculed by the whole world. It's not so much a matter of reputation, but rather the value of my person. As I stand waiting for further instructions, I just want to know where everyone else is. Why did I wake up in a cave without a single soul? Again, isn't it too risky to leave a prisoner alone when the exits are open? Payne sits at the head of a large wooden table that takes up a good half of the room, and looks at me intently. He is dressed in the standard form of the organization, which means he solved some criminal matters on which the gang stands as a monolith. Clasped pale hands with neat scarlet nails are extended in front of him, allowing me to shamelessly examine the massive purple ring on my thumb. I wonder if this is another distinctive feature of the group or if he just likes to take care of himself? I wouldn't say that the young man looks like a fashionista. You felt me, didn't you? It's easy to tell from Payne's intonation that he already knows the answer. Every now and then he exudes cold confidence, which is why, being next to the guy, you feel older than your years. Before I can open my mouth to answer, I am again filled with the feeling of someone else's approach. Frowning, I glance sideways at my interlocutor, whose thin lips are touched by a grin. The cloak rustles softly as he raises his hand and points it towards the door, motioning for me to step aside. I jerk back sharply and catch footsteps, the owner of which is clearly not in a good mood. A second later the door opens with such a roar that I involuntarily jump in place. A tall guy storms into the room, irritably throwing a huge red scythe with 3 blades at the entrance. He is wearing a well-known raincoat, only half-buttoned, so the whole world can calmly look at the abdominal muscles gently rolling under the stranger's fair skin. A silver pendant in the form of a triangle caught in a ring dangles from his chest. "How I hate this sinner!" the guy literally roared, furiously flashing his crimson eyes. "Another joint visit, and I will rip his guts out, I swear by Jashin." Snoring dissatisfiedly, he ruffled his slicked ashen hair, looking like an offended, disheveled boy. The orange ring on the index finger does not fit at all with the green nails, and in general, looking at this guy, you get the feeling that he is the very essence of the world's inconsistency, a fatal violation of the universal balance. He had just raised his voice to the leader of the gang, and the mysterious sinner was clearly unlucky to become the cause of the rage of the nervous creature. Finally, the young man notices me, awkwardly shifting from foot to foot near Payne. Ruby's eye lights up and he crosses his arms in front of him, covering his massive chest. "Where are the others?" Payne asks, delicately touching the bridge of his nose with his fingertips. "I'm not their nanny, they know the way," the stranger says, without taking his eyes off me, "in which the devils have caused a pogrom, and what fate brought such a beauty into our hole." The bastard's greasy grin almost knocked the ground out from under his feet. The chest is immediately filled with righteous fire, the palms are clenched into fists, and the body tenses in anticipation of the impending fight. How dare he laugh at me? I had enough humiliation in my life without him, so am I really forced to endure such an attitude now? No, not from this scoundrel. "How dare you?" I don't recognize my own voice, trembling with impatience and irritation. Someone else's lips smoothly stretch into the satisfied smile of a cat who has eaten sour cream, which teases even more. If the Ninetales reacts to every person in the same way, then we must give him credit for his steely patience. "Don't get mad, baby." He raises his palms in a conciliatory manner, noticing my impulse to attack with fists. "My name is Hayden, and, as far as I understand, now we will live as one big happy family." He is clearly amused by the situation, he literally basks in my anger. What a scoundrel! Just one word, one curve of the mouth, and I get lost in a veil of bitterness. The blood is pulsating in my head, making me feel like my skull is about to burst. "And a guy with character," Hayden confidently declares, turning his gaze to the quiet red-haired man. "We will definitely become friends. Naruto and I are going to training." Payne speaks up, ignoring the impudent statement. He gets up from his seat and, without paying attention to me, goes out into the street. Turning my gaze to Hayden, I receive another mockery from raspberry-colored eyes. His fingers slowly trace the protector plate attached to his neck with the crossed-out emblem of the hidden hot spring village. Grunting defiantly, I quicken my pace after the departing Payne, easily catching up with him. "What type?" I ask angrily, unable to keep up appearances or even keep my cool. "How can you even be calm when something like that lives next to you?" Hayden, the guy, responds only briefly, stepping softly on the grass. He respects only his god, so get used to such attacks. Those he disliked lost their hearts long ago. For some reason, I doubt that by deprivation of hearts, he means unrequited girlish love for a handsome bandit. Is this crazy guy so strong that even a rinnegan wielder wouldn't risk teaching him a few lessons in manners? Or is he such a valuable member of this small criminal underworld that they are willing to put up with childish antics? And what kind of god is this who pacifies the burning character of a criminal? Chapter 6. We make our way through the forest thickets in oppressive silence. The lair remains somewhere far behind. Besides the psycho living next door, the thought of the nine tails worries me. Red made it clear that he knew about me. Does this mean that I'm just delaying something inevitable? But then what is the point of him training me, making me stronger, if in this way one day I can not only protect the fox, but also question the very existence of their gang? I come to my senses in a spacious clearing, clearly made by human hand. Surrounded by trees and hidden from prying eyes, it is ideal for a training base. Pain stops in her very heart, softly lowering himself onto the grass. The sun gently strokes the copper of my hair. A gesture of a pale hand invites me to take a seat nearby, which I do. What's worrying you? The guy begins without prelude, closing his eyes. You know what I am, right? I ask, still doubting the correctness of this step. Everyone knows about this. Of course, briefly and clearly. A rumbling rumble is heard under my ribs, calling me to get up, spit on the agreement and run, sparkling my heels. So, does this worry you? The voice is heard again. What do you think? I instantly flare up, filled with the desire to somehow hush up the horror growing from within. They have already come to the village. They blew and Brother Uchiha hinted that they needed a fox. How will you explain this to me? Pain just remains silent, and treacherous goosebumps gallop across his skin. Had I fallen into the trap of my own naivety, believing that anyone actually cared about me? Looks like now you'll pay for your stupidity, you gullible fool. There's no point in denying that we need what's sealed inside of you, the redhead says coolly, turning to me, and we will get it sooner or later. But until we figure out how to extract the bijou safely for your life, you will learn to develop the power of your eyes. Why do you care about me? I jump to my feet screaming, unable to understand his behavior. If you pull out the damn fox, I will die. There is no safe way, only death. I'm not going to die here, do you hear? Having spat it all out into my imperturbable face, I turn around and run deep into the forest. The branches hit the face harshly, leaving scratches, mixing blood with uninvited tears. Another betrayal. What exactly did I expect from a dirty bunch of thugs? Became attached to the unapproachable deity, believed in his nobility. It's my own fault. I trip over another cobblestone and fall backwards onto the cold ground. My bare foot immediately felt a painful heat, but now was not the best time for bandages and first aid. 2 feet are in front of my nose as soon as I kneel down. Does the power of the rinnegan really grant such speed that he overtook me in an instant? Despite the throbbing in my broken foot, I jump up and boldly take a fighting pose. The swollen face immediately stretches out in surprise. It's not him. More precisely, it is he, but at the same time, a stranger. The same tall stature and lilac gaze, the same pale skin and crossed-out tread, but something about him is different. Long flowing strands with a reddish tint gently cover large facial features. Stop it, Naruto, the man orders in Pain's cold voice. My hands are shaking, and it seems that I am losing the last bits of self-control. Sticky horror flowed through the body, settling somewhere in the stomach. The shirt had long been soaked in cold sweat. You don't want to believe in another betrayal, the long-haired man says soulfully, and it is right. Nothing threatens you within these walls. Cast aside your doubts and follow me. But how? I just ask in a trembling voice. He couldn't have guessed the reason for my panic so cleverly. After all, I should be afraid of the extraction of the bijou, and not the fact that traitors have been hanging around all my life. One of the 6 paths, the redhead completes my thought, and my specialization reading thoughts and extracting souls. So there are also 6 of them? But how? It turns out that I can do all these things too? But how? I wrap my arms around myself and glance doubtfully at my interlocutor. If there are 6 of them, that means I still have no chance of getting out of here alive, right? The long-haired man grins barely noticeably, turns around, and heads towards the abandoned clearing. All I can do is burn a hole in his cloak and trail behind him. What is he? And what should we call him? It's unpleasant that I don't even feel it being in my head. Or is panic to blame? Call me Pain, for we are one, the guy throws over his shoulder. I cannot address you by this name. My path is called Nintendo, if you like, after a minute of silence the redhead says. We ascended to a clearing, in the center of which Pain himself was still sitting. He didn't want to pick up the little crybaby so much that he sent a replacement. I go up to the guy and plop down opposite him, defiantly pouting my lips. The eyes are closed, and the aura of calm literally reeks from a kilometer away. Nintendo stops behind Pain, repeating his action. Two coppertops are selflessly meditating, clearly enjoying the warm sun, while I look at them in confusion. Where are the promised training sessions? Close your eyes, Naruto, one of them snorts irritably. I hope I don't have a katana sticking out of my chest the next time I open them. Closing my eyelids, I begin to fall into a cycle of smells and sensations. The coolness of the forest, the touch of the wind, the warmth of the sun, the softness of the grass. My hearing immediately intensifies to such an extent that I can practically hear the rustling of a butterfly's wings and the cawing of a crow somewhere outside the forest. The movement of the whole world, the whole planet, suddenly echoes in one head. I put my palms to the ground and feel in my gut the fervor of the flame, the stability of the soil, the changeability of the wind, the fickleness of water, and the zeal of lightning. The power flowing into my body through my fingertips is intoxicating, and in that moment I feel more alive than I have ever felt before. Charges rage in the body, demanding a quick release. Do you feel it? As if through a veil I hear a voice, your body is filled with natural energy. You gain control over the 5 elements of nature. Don't resist them, accept the gift. The melodious voice soothes, relaxing the mind. Perhaps I was wrong about him. I really want to believe him, myself and the whole world. I really want to become something more than an ordinary piece of muscle strung on chakra threads. And whether I become this, big, depends only on me. A strong impulse from within forces you to come to your senses. Opening my eyes, I see a dark forest surrounding the clearing, and still smoldering grass next to me. Notes of burning creep into the night air. How long have I been sitting here? There is not a single soul around, and only the tingling warmth throughout the body and pleasant fatigue prove that this is not another too realistic dream. I carefully rise from the ground and, shaking off my pant leg, notice that there is no pain in my bruised foot. There wasn't even a bruise left. Having quickly felt my face, I was delighted to note that the scratches had also disappeared. I'm not vulnerable. I wonder if now I can spit fire like Sasuke? If yes, then I will roast his pride at the first meeting. The loud rumbling of my stomach urges me to quickly find food, and I move into the dense thickets. I would like to know where next. May they all fail there. Time to test some new skills, right? Sitting down on the grass, I lower my palm in front of me. The sensations are immediately confused, suggesting in which direction the sleeping bird fell from the branch, and in which direction the cricket is chirping. Gathering all my strength, I try to imagine the faces of my friends, concentrating on their location. And now, success. Hayden's vile voice comes from afar. He laughs obscenely loudly, surrounded by several people. A shiver runs through my palm, and it becomes clear to me where to move next. Smiling, with a light heart I set off at a trot towards the den. Once at the door itself, I am faced with a stupid question: should I knock or not? But another roar from a hungry stomach decides everything for me, and, almost knocking down the long-suffering door, I burst inside. 3 pairs of eyes, including an annoying crimson one, turn to me questioningly. And what should I tell them? I smile and awkwardly scratch the back of my head. Everyone is dressed at home, without their creepy cloaks that instill horror and panic in the souls of random travelers. A heavy silence hung over the table filled with all sorts of dishes. Here comes our guy. Hayden announces patronizingly, defusing the situation in time. How was your training, baby? Gratitude is immediately replaced by a wave of discontent. Do these jokes really come with him in the same set? Nevertheless, inspired by new achievements, I put my hands on my hips and laugh brazenly in response. It couldn't be better. And you will very soon begin to receive money for your words. I declare loudly, taking in the guy's toned body with my gaze. Finally, at least someone will beat you, the unknown man said, grinning, turning his wide back to me. On the shoulder blades and just below are two pairs of creepy colored masks, and the dark body is covered all over with neat stitches. The man is so tall that he seems like a giant surrounded by his colleagues. He fidgets on the table, rustling some bags, and constantly pushes his flowing dark hair to the side. "Shut up, Kakuzu, or I'll kill you!" Hayden boils, pointing his finger at the giant. "Little guts, Jashin sycophant," he replies sternly, turning around with a plate of hot noodles in his hands. Kakuzu's appearance is clearly not for the weak of character, a mouth sewn with large stitches and bright green irises against the background of black mascaras that match his hair. He squints unkindly at his interlocutor, who, apparently, has long been accustomed to this appearance. Hayden's face turned purple with anger, and his palms clenched into fists. He jumps up from his seat, knocking over his chair, and in 2 steps approaches Kakuzu, who is a good half-head taller. "How dare you, infidel! Die for your blasphemous words!" With a scream, the guy raises his fist to strike. Suddenly Pain appears and, grabbing the priest by the hand, throws him back. Kakuzu just grins and sits down at the table, slowly starting to eat. Hayden bursts into flames with a stream of obscene language, such as I have never heard in my life. All this disgrace is interrupted by the quiet but harsh voice of the redhead. "You found your way back, commendable," he turns to me. "Join if you're hungry. No need to repeat it twice." I happily run up to the table and swallow the hot noodles. Food warms the insides, delivering unearthly pleasure. Having instantly finished the portion, I notice a third person sitting opposite. A very young boy looks at the world with hazy gray-brown eyes, in the depths of which indifference to everything that happens every now and then splashes. He looks at me for a long time, without blinking, like a lifeless corpse. The tousled reddish hair doesn't have the coppery sheen of Pain's. Through the mesh t-shirt I notice a doll's body, assembled from individual parts, and a circle with a hieroglyph is built into the left side of the chest. Don't they have their own bodies? One is somehow sewn up, the second is completely assembled in pieces. Apparently, life is hard for them in the criminal world. Hayden leaves the room, still muttering curses at Kakuzu. After him, the latter, having emptied his plate, also left the living room. An awkward silence hung over the 3 heads. The red-haired leader sits down on the boy's left hand, not feeling at all awkward from the silence. To be honest, I would really like for this powder keg named Hayden to return and defuse the situation. "So what are our plans?" I ask as lightheartedly as possible. "I'll be busy in the morning. Think for yourself who you will spend time with," the guy answers, nodding, businesslike. "By the time I arrive, you must learn at least one new technique." "Can I train with Nintendo?" Having voiced the question, out of the corner of my eye I notice a grin in the boy's dull eyes. Does he think I didn't notice? "I'll be busy in the morning," the young man repeated patiently. "I introduced you to the organization the day before, so you can ask anyone to teach you something new." Pain nodded towards the boy, who was still insolently looking at me. "I don't like this little guy." A stupid and pompous expression on his face, just like Sasuke's. "No way. It's scary to be alone with the huge Kakuzu," with Conan awkward. "Is only Hayden left?" Having cleaned up after myself, I thank the people sitting at the table and go to my room. Falling onto the bed, I begin to think. And who should I go to? Maybe Sasuke's brother would do. After all, he is the indirect culprit in awakening my rinnegan, and I am grateful to him. Technically, we even know each other. He came to Konoha for me. True, it is worth omitting the reason for visiting the village. Reluctantly, I make a decision: let there be another Uchiha in my life. Uchiha, a clan of fire with a Sharingan at the ready, and therefore, a bearer of valuable knowledge and unique experience from which you can try to benefit. Chapter 7. The huge cage is overwhelming with its massiveness. Steel bars save me from the huge bloody eyes of the beast. Squinting, the fox lazily looks at me without the usual hatred, but with a certain drop of satisfaction. He completely steps out of the shadows, and 9 powerful tails are revealed to my eyes, demonstrating the power of the bija. The fox raises his paws and squeezes the bars, tenaciously grasping them with his clawed fingers. The fur is shiny and coppery, but the creature itself exudes coldness, once again reminding us that it was created not from flesh and blood, but from pure energy. Have you really decided to visit me? Grumbles the fox, whose voice echoes across the emptiness of space. I am silent in response, because this is the place I would like to visit least of all in the world. The nine-tailed cunning one only knows how to hurl curses and insults, but the worst thing is that I'm wrong. Over hundreds of years, the damn beast has seen so much, learned many techniques, and combined with its essence, has become an ideal weapon in the right hands. The power of these eyes is not so easy to tame, Ninetails continues. I'm already starting to think, sinfully, that you're not as pathetic as you seem at first glance. I didn't know you could say something sensible. Crossing my arms over my chest, I openly declare in response. No, I really jumped to conclusions. The beast immediately bristled, waving its tail irritably. Are you really so weak-minded that you believe every crook you meet? Yes, I believe you. In this space, irritation is transmitted at an enviable speed. At least they can make me stronger. Unlike you. Do you dare believe that I should teach you? An insignificant body in which I am forced to languish for years? It's not my fault. I scream at the demon, unconsciously approaching the cold bars. If you want to know, your existence doesn't bring much pleasure either. You ruined my life, but you still go on and on about how worthless I am. Who else is the nonentity of the two of us? You can create a powerful host for yourself and enjoy our common power. But as soon as I gained power that was much more dangerous than old worn-out tales, you immediately showed up, grinning in satisfaction? Worthless scoundrel! A familiar growl, filled with the wrath of the underworld, immediately breaks your head. The demon begins to dissolve along with the prison, and I jump out of bed. These half-dreams have already become such a habit that it doesn't make the slightest sense to dwell on them all day long. There is only one person sitting in the living room, a blue colossus that once threatened to leave me without legs. The shark's face, covered with shiny blue scales, was etched in my memory for a long time. Noticing me, the man stretched his lips into a wide grin, revealing a row of sharp teeth. Another subhuman in the company. It's time to stop being surprised at the sight of these weirdos. But I remember you. Loudly clapping his hands, the bandit announced. The same Jinchuriki from Konoha. Since we are forced to cooperate, then Hoshigaki Kisame is at your service. The criminal made a bow, clearly enjoying himself. So this Kisame suddenly wanted to make friends? No matter how it is. You've got your tail pinned down hard if you're talking to me so nicely, I blurt out in the fish's face without having time to think. Be careful with your words, little one. The nodules began to play every now and then on Kisame's gray cheekbones. We don't want you to accidentally go missing, right? I raised my hands in a conciliatory gesture and approached the table, sitting down opposite Kisame. Colorless beady eyes continually follow my every move. Where are you from, Kisame? Without taking my eyes off him, I ask a question. What made you fall into this hole? And why is there such a keen interest all of a sudden? The man grins, squinting in disbelief. I'm interested in learning about the past of the people with whom fate brought me together. I answered the question partly honestly, running my eyes over the gills on my large face. Hidden mist. Hoshigaki closes his eyes, clearly not enjoying sharing personal information with me. I am one of the 7 swordsmen. I think you remember Samahada? But my reasons for joining the organization are purely personal, sorry. I'll tell you one thing, boy, this place is much more cruel than the whole world outside the lair. So don't roll your lip too much. Why do you need Jinchuriki? After all, I'm far from the first like this in your life. I asked the question after a long pause. You definitely noticed that. Although, personally, I would prefer to see less of you, devil-possessed scum. Kisame casually touzles his black crew-cut hair, but an order is an order. We need you and others like you. Someone's quiet steps forced the man to bite his chattering tongue before he could reveal the essence of the mysterious plan. And who was so impatient to show up at such a moment? I turn around and glare at the newcomer with a dissatisfied look. But dissatisfaction is immediately replaced by wary interest when damned familiar facial features appear in front of me. The dark blue suit emphasizes his perfectly straight back, his jet black hair is pulled back into a ponytail, and the cold coals of his eyes glance at Kisame and me. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the stranger is the same Uchiha Itachi. Having made himself some tea, the guy sat down next to Kisame, clasping the mug with his pale palms. Finger polish again, this time purple, and an iconic ring with a red stone. His mature face and the stripes that run from his eyebrows to his cheeks set him apart sharply from Sasuke, although the boy's every action is imbued with the elegance inherent in the Uchiha clan. With his appearance, the temperature in the room clearly dropped a couple of degrees, plunging those present into cold-blooded calm. The door bursts open and Pain's body flies into the room, falling face down in front of us. Instead of any attempts by the leader to rise to his feet, I only see a crimson puddle of blood, rapidly increasing in size. My pupils dilate in horror when the essence of what is happening dawns on me. I jump up from my seat and find myself in front of the young man like lightning. The cloak is soaked through with blood, and when I raise my red head, chilling fear freezes my body, squeezing my lungs in a vice. Hot blood pours out of the black holes where the eyes should be. Trembling hands drop the corpse. I raise my eyes full of tears and see the people surrounding me. The fifth Hokage, Hatake, Uchiha, Haruno, Iruka and everyone else are vying with each other to say something. With a joyful smile on his disgusting, pretty face, Sasuke sits down next to me, squeezing my shoulder like a brother. When did he manage to return? And for what? Someone's hands reach out to Pain's corpse, trying to take it away, and in a second I am filled with animal rage. Fire began to boil in the veins, burning the ability to think sanely as it went. My heart starts dancing, hitting my ribs painfully. With one blow I throw 4 of them into the bushes, and with a powerful roar I knock the rest off their feet. The demon's energy seeks revenge and blood. A veil of rage obscures the eyes, and a feeling of blood appears in the mouth when the first desperate cry of horror leaves someone else's lips. Naruto, today I will give you some time. Itachi's calm voice pulls me out of my nightmare. Opposite are calm bandits sitting peacefully. Where are the dead? Both the blood and the corpse, everything disappeared. But I destroyed everyone with my own hands. The heart has not yet calmed down, frantically pushing the blood through the heated body. The Uchiha looks carefully, as if studying an unusual animal that he just noticed. And only now it dawns on me that all this is his doing. The Uchiha with his damn illusions will drive me to the grave. Under my confused gaze, Itachi gets up from his seat, throws something to Hoshigaki and, grabbing me by the elbow, quickly leads me out of the room. You killed everyone who came to save you, says the Uchiha. As soon as we are on the training field, in the end, they accepted you, risked their lives for you, but you still destroyed everyone. Why? But they killed Pain. I answered the question decisively, the only one who can teach me the wisdom of the rinnegan. Moreover, the only one who accepted me, even if I am just another target of your mysterious mission. Silence reigns between us. Only wild birds chirp carefree in the depths of the forest. The sun gently caresses the earth, and the warm wind slowly runs through the tender grass. Without changing his face, the brunette looks straight into the eyes. Why do you believe him? The voice is heard again. Is there really nothing keeping you in the village? Only he can teach me to use my eyes, I answer stubbornly, and he also offers shelter, food, and even a tiny drop of care. What does the village give me besides constant poking and ridicule? Everyone has the right to make mistakes. The world is too fragile to hold a grudge, Naruto. What can you understand? I can't hold back, throwing up my hands. All my damn life I have been defending my right to be an ordinary person, an ordinary child. I hate them all. I wanted to help people, I wanted to help your brother, but what did I get in return? He drew my blood and threw it to the fishes. I would never have seen the sun again if Pain hadn't been there. The Uchiha looks away, and something in him turns over as soon as I touch Sasuke. The thin face does not let emotions through, but the eyes are filled with such melancholy that I suddenly feel a wave of pity for the criminal who massacred his own family. Now he seems not the formidable genius of his disappeared clan, but an ordinary boy whose share has fallen too heavy a burden. Itachi turns around and stands in the center of the field, makes his seals with lightning speed and releases one large fireball into the sky. A perfectly even sphere of flame takes off and, scattering into millions of bright sparks, dissolves in the air. Repeat, the guy orders briefly, again making hand seals. Surprised by such a sudden change in the guy's internal mood, I carefully repeat his movements. With each subsequent hand gesture, the warmth inside grows, turning into real heat. A volcano literally grows in your stomach, ready to erupt a stream of hot lava. The last movement of the palms, and the mouth was filled with flame, instantly burning the tongue and palate. Heat circulates in my throat, blocking air from reaching my lungs, and I begin to choke. What to do? I throw my head up and spit fire into the sky. Hot sparks immediately scorch your lips and fall clumsily to the ground. Instead of perfect technique, blue smoke comes out of the nose and mouth. I lean on my knees and hastily clear my throat. The throat burns mercilessly, as does the oral cavity. My eyes are watering from the amount of smoke around me, which is why I have to clumsily rub them with my fists. Disgusting, I hear the voice of the mentor, again. But where is he? I turn my head, looking for the person. The field is deserted, and the Uchiha himself quietly disappeared into the shadows of the trees that surround the clearing. The guy sits with his leg tucked under him and waits for another try. Come on, Naruto, pull yourself together. The Uchiha should not see your pathetic attempts. You are the owner of the rinnegan, after all. So pull yourself together and prove to him that you are not a mistake. Frowning, I fold the seals again. Warmth in the body again. I raise my head and, ignoring the strong burning sensation, tears and lack of air, I exhale flames into the sky with all my might. The ball flew up, not massive and dangerous enough. Compared to Itachi's technique, it looks so poor that anger at his own worthlessness grows inside. The Uchiha repeats the phrase loudly, and I resume trying. At the cost of a burned throat, tongue and hands, as well as a good couple of dozen attempts, a perfect sphere burst out of me and gracefully disappeared into the sky. Squealing with delight, I fall onto my back, allowing myself a moment's respite. The serene sky blue captivates you, and the earth obligingly envelopes your body in coolness. I lower my palms and allow natural energy to flow into me, restoring my strength. It's enough for today. Itachi stops next to me, looking at me condescendingly. You did a good job, but it's time for us to go back. The road to the lair passes in silence, but the silence is not depressing, but creates a special atmosphere that exists only in the presence of an unusual young man. Even though Itachi's past is drowned in blood, he doesn't seem like a disgusting psychopathic parasite. Moreover, he left Sasuke alive, which suggests a certain brotherly tenderness that he carefully keeps in his heart. Why does Sasuke want you dead? I break the silence, shooting this question right into the forehead of Itachi, who is softly walking on the ground. He must want it, he answers gloomily. Because of the clan? I keep pushing, why did you kill them? I advise you not to meddle in other people's affairs, Naruto. Despite the stone face, the guy's voice makes it clear that I have approached a line that has no place for strangers. Taking the hint, I immediately close my mouth. Opening the door, we see Konan concentrating on cutting fruit. The girl glances at us, returning to her lesson. The Uchiha immediately retreats to her chambers, clearly not in the mood for outside conversations. I drag myself to the table and loudly plop down on the chair. How was the lesson? Asks the blue-haired girl, placing a plate of fruit slices on the table. Itachi taught me how to release fireballs. I proudly announced to the girl, reaching for a piece of apple. Now I'm more useful. Konan is silent, holding back a smile. Satisfaction flashes through the amber eyes and, wishing me a bon appetit, the girl leaves the room. After chewing the treat, I stretch out contentedly in my chair. Outside the door, the world slowly plunges into evening twilight. Thoughts froze in a lazy mass in my head, allowing me to patch up my state of mind a little. The feeling of someone else's presence brings me back to reality. Pain and Nintendo approach the table and simultaneously sit down opposite. I'm lost between two strange pairs of eyes. The guys are clearly in no hurry, continuing to remain silent. I think you have fulfilled my request and are ready to demonstrate the result. Pain finally speaks up. A theoretical part on using the rinnegan is still planned for today, so be prepared to listen carefully. Come and sit down opposite, the guy demands, glancing at my new skill. Without taking my eyes off the concentrated pale face, I lower myself in front of him. Having assumed the lotus position, completely copying the redhead's position, I await further instructions. Did you know that a skilled ninja does not need dojutsu to understand his opponent's thinking? Of course, I would also say that dojutsu is completely overrated. For some reason, I doubt that any Haiden or Kisame have such a skill. Umbu agents are trained in psychology, which allows them to successfully calculate any enemy actions, the guy says calmly, without opening his eyes. Moreover, they are trained to hide their intentions well. That's why you shouldn't be surprised if one day you can't get into other people's thoughts. If one of the greatest skills of the rinnegan is available to ordinary people, is it really possible to learn its other advantages so easily? I ask loudly, clasping my hands. It's not that simple, Naruto. He suddenly opens his eyes, glaring at me so that I clearly feel his manipulations in my head. If they need to learn this for many years, you just need to want it. Goosebumps ran down my spine as I realized that I couldn't turn away or even lower my gaze. He literally forces me to look into his eyes, not allowing me to take even an extra breath. A cold hand gently lands on the top of my head. A second or two, an incredible weakness envelopes the body. The body, which has become so alien and heavy, suddenly ceases to belong to me. Thoughts evaporate, and I literally feel the constriction of my pupils. Everything is covered in fog, even the copper hair of the person sitting opposite instantly loses its brightness. The thought that I don't remember either him or my name gently stabs into the molten consciousness like a hot knife, a desperate attempt to call for a reaction and at least some action. The hand suddenly returns, and it's as if I woke up. Like a drowning man, I began to breathe with my mouth wide open, again feeling the rapid beating of my heart. The body began to tremble, and all the memories came back to my head at once. Must not be the most pleasant feeling. A voice came from behind, and I only pulled back my soul a few centimeters. With a trembling hand I touched my forehead, my hairline, and ran my fingers over my head all the way to the back of my head. My mouth is dry and the trembling won't stop. Looking behind me, I see the long figure of Nintendo. His gaze may not express anything, but he watches carefully, noticing the slightest changes in my condition. Obviously, his level of control over his own rinnegan is sky high. The cold wind sobers me up, finally pulling me out of semi-oblivion. Raising my head to the sky, I am surprised to notice black thunderclouds hanging low above us. The first drops, driven by another gust of wind, fell to the ground. Today you experienced the unique capabilities of dojutsu firsthand, Pain summed up, rising smoothly from his seat. Remember these sensations and analyze them until you understand how to use them if necessary. His quiet voice began to be lost in the sound of rain pouring from the sky in an endless stream. Somewhere in the distance a clap of thunder was heard. The guys simultaneously turn around and move away towards the lair. I remained sitting in a cold rain puddle, exposing my face to the cold drops. Chapter 8. The exhausting workouts gradually turned into a mind-numbing routine. Days imperceptibly give way to nights, and the time I spend in the company of criminals is increasing. The first awkward days fade in memory, like bruises and abrasions on the body. Under Pain's strict guidance, my abilities increase exponentially. I spent a lot of time, but was able to master mind reading, bringing the skill to automaticity. The first information I received using the rinnegan was Kakuzu's accounts and Haiden's prayers. Then I began to take information out of the heads of the other bandits. The secrets of the puppeteer Sasori and the bomber Deidara became available to me, even the confusion in Kisame's dark-haired head turned into an open book. History is silent about the unpleasant moments when the guys caught me spying, but how else to gain experience, right? Itachi's thoughts are hidden behind the curtain of the years he spent in ANBU. The unit clearly has a vested interest in keeping its secrets if they place mental blocks like these in the heads of their fighters. Pain himself took care of Conan, eliminating even the slightest possibility of my influence on the girl. He once evasively said that the founders of the organization were storing too dangerous information. One morning, Pain announced that learning rinnegan techniques would not have the desired effect until I mastered the techniques of the various elements. This news infuriated me, because it is not the elements, but the dojutsu with its secrets that are at the head of the table. But the inaccessibility and coldness of my mentor very quickly eradicated my habit of whining, so I began to train closely. I lost count of the days I spent meditating in the center of the training field. The energy of the elements bubbled up from the ground, filling it with life. And yet thoughts about the future stained the ideal picture of my present. What will I do next after learning to control the power of my eyes? In the village they probably consider me dead or fled, or even a traitor, so a grandiose and tearful return home is not planned. And is that where my home is now? That day the sunset was bloody red, making the world seem so unreal. Immersed in the depths of consciousness, I was acutely aware of the nature around me, absorbing its elements. At such moments, my mind was in some kind of harmony with the universe, allowing me to temporarily stop heavy thoughts about life's difficulties. A foreign, but quite familiar chakra suddenly softly wove into the energy flow of the surroundings. I slowly opened my eyes and stared at the incredible sunset. Having lived for so long under one roof, I easily recognized the person. Itachi walked without haste, knowing the way exactly. Soft steps came from behind him, and he knelt down next to her. Incomprehensible sensations began to stir inside me, and I glanced at the guy with suspicion. Our first meeting made it clear that he was not in the mood for a friendly wave. So why did the Uchiha suddenly come looking for me at night? The only question that interests me is a low voice rang out, "What happened to Sasuke?" And this question, which cost the brunette several sleepless nights, became the starting point of our peculiar communication. I can't call it friendship, because the images of friends, their voices and mannerisms are not imprinted in my head so clearly. He seemed to me like a cold stone, incapable of any feelings or emotions, but that day a small black-eyed boy again appeared in front of me, modestly looking away to the side. Without any mind reading, just from the tone of his voice alone, I understood the full extent of Itachi's concern for his poor brother. And what should I tell him? Tell me in detail the touching relationship that connects me with the youngest scion of the clan? For some reason, I absolutely did not want to pour this bile on the head of the former Anbu. Awkwardly touching my forehead, I told the brunette a terse story about Sasuke joining Orochimaru. Itachi didn't show it, but the trembling in his body echoed through me. Regret mixed with bitterness flashed at the bottom of his onyx eyes. Silently lowering his head, he fenced himself off from the world with black curls falling on his face. I truly felt sorry for Itachi. Is it worth grieving over a worthless boy whose highest goal in life is to kill his brother? Yielding to a sudden impulse, I put my hand on his shoulder. For some reason, at that moment this gesture seemed to me the only accessible and correct one. Taking a deep breath, I vividly imagined how natural forces flow into me from the earth, then slowly flow into someone else's body, filling it with vigor. Itachi immediately raised his head, looking at the patterns on my irises in disbelief. The evening slowly turned into night, hiding our figures in the darkness. The heat in my body suddenly interrupted my sleep. I look around the dark room and get up from the soaking wet bed. The clothes stick unpleasantly to the body, which continued to blaze with fire. Your heart thumps dully against your ribs, and another drop of sweat runs down your temple. What's happening? Why is it so hot? Before I can blink, I find myself in a clearing. Everything is seething inside, my hands are shaking feverishly. I want to tear, throw, rake the earth with my hands, but just to get rid of this feeling. What is happening to me? There is a hum in my head, vaguely reminiscent of an animal growl. Sweat runs down your body in streams, and your vision becomes dark. It's hot, unbearably hot. Bringing my hand closer to my face, I freeze in amazement. My palm is shrouded in a red aura, which creates a kind of claws on my fingertips. Now I understand why I feel so bad. Did the fox really agree to teach me? A sharp pain pierces the body along the line of the spine, and I fall to my knees. The red light is so blinding that the rinnegan doesn't help. I put my palms on the ground in search of saving energy, but salvation does not come. I squint behind my back and vaguely see 2 or 3 red tails. The body is pulsating, threatening to burst from tension. A painful heat originating in the abdomen captures the lungs and moves along the trachea to the throat, taking away the last opportunity to breathe. With stiff fingers I form seals in an attempt to push the flames out of my body. I throw my head back and with all my might I blow a sphere of fire into the night sky. Filled with demonic energy, red flames of unprecedented size explode high above the ground. The acrid smell of burning immediately hit my nose. I can't tell if it's the clothes or the skin that's burning. 10, 15, 30. I lose count of the techniques performed. Normally, I would have dropped dead from exhaustion of energy and physical strength. The storm still rages inside, forcing him to continue trying to calm him down. I fold the seals again and release the flame. However, instead of balls, the sky is filled with huge red dragons. The creatures wriggle, like living things, and disappear into the heights. Apparently I made a mistake in adding the seals. The mistake cost more chakra, and I suddenly feel life-saving oxygen in my lungs again. In any case, this technique slightly weakened the monstrous power. I raise my hand to my face again and see the blackened tips of my fingers. The tailed man's cover methodically burns the body. This is even more painful. We urgently need something strong and tiring. I raise my hands for the next call of fire, but I see that the skin is beginning to peel off in layers from my palms and forearms. The muscles gradually become exposed, and a black tarry layer appears around. What it is! It twists my bones and I writhe in pain, turning over onto my back. Everything starts to fade when I lower my head and notice the aggressive movement of the 5 tails. How are you, Uzumaki? Did you get what you wanted? The fox's muzzle is so close that I recoil in surprise. The tailed one sits in a cage, slyly narrowing its eyes and grinning contentedly. The tails flutter peacefully behind the huge red body. I look around nervously and am horrified. The body is covered in blisters, the limbs are blackened, threatening to never return to working condition. In some places, scraps of tissue were burned to the exposed remains of muscle. The smell of burnt flesh makes your stomach clench. It's strange that my insides are still functioning after everything I've been through. Sorry sight, the demon drawls. You tried so hard to prove your suitability, as my host, that I decided to believe. So what's the result? I am forced to squeeze into a roasted piece of self-confident meat. In all these years, I have only felt a grain of your chakra once. So many years have passed in vain, and only now have you decided to make up for the lost years of preparation all at once? You won't be able to pay me off with such handouts, unless you want to burn with me in your own fire. Go to hell with such teachings, damn demon! The 9 tails deftly raises its furry paw and digs its claws into my bare shoulder. In a fit of anger, I did not notice how I ended up within his reach. Drops of blood quickly rush down, turning the waters below us crimson. Not paying any attention to this, the fox pulls me into his domain. Come on, make your dream come true and kill me. Just know that we will die here together. He is silent, and ramming my figure with an unblinking gaze, continues to drag me deeper into the dungeon. The bars were left behind, as was any escape route. Finding himself in complete darkness, he roughly pulls out his claws. I swear, I hear a new batch of blood spilling into the water. You can't see anything around, it's pitch black. Only a quiet, cold breath betrays someone else's presence. Somewhere high up a faint light flashed. It gets lighter and brighter and finally I can see everything around me. 9 tails surrounded both of us, preventing any attempt to turn back. And where can I go in this state? For some reason the thought of death does not terrify me. At the very least, this creature will perish with me. Light is formed between its clawed paws, which it holds at the level of its broad sternum. Despite its unimaginable size, the fox turns out to be a rather bony creature. The outlines of the ribs and collarbones literally catch the eye. Although it creates the illusion of volume, it does not change the overall picture. I will make you respect my greatness, mortal, the Nine-Tails spits out with hatred, without looking up from the sphere. You will suffer from your stubbornness. Feel the full weight of my power. Concentrating all the light in one paw, the demon swings and plunges it into my chest. There is a loud crunch of ribs, then blood fills the mouth, flowing out through burnt lips. A powerful blow throws me out of my subconscious. With difficulty I open my eyes and see the weak rays of the early sun, softly touching the borders of the blackened field. The path of the sage is incomprehensible to a mortal, my son. Truth is seen not with the eyes but with the heart. So what do you see in those you let into your life? Can you lean on your neighbor in difficult times? People have long forgotten my will. They use my creations to harm each other. Humanity is rotten, but you, a true child of prophecy, can guide them on the right path. Time is sadly fleeting in this reality, but I managed to learn to contemplate the world with my soul and create it with my eyes. Now it is your turn to bring peace. So create a free world and breathe life into it. Chapter 9. Darkness around, someone's muffled voices and lump of pain in breasts. The first thing I felt after a strong blow from the fox. Damn demon that he is, did you think about it? Shouting something about strength, oh the need to prove her abilities control. How generous! Oh what I almost died, that's easy so, another check for endurance? Second time I literally back with that world. Someone's tugging at me shoulder, but through this darkness nothing is I see. The pressure from outside is getting stronger. Now they are stubbornly beating me cheeks. Not touch me! I take a breath of air, chest for a loud cry, but here same I'm choking on oxygen, aching pain. Thank you damn fox! And how long are they going to touch my body? I almost not I doubt that the Akatsuki found me unconscious and are now trying to lead to feeling. Except they don't know that I kind of as already in consciousness. All that remains is to open your eyes. Cold water in huge quantities here same gives strength. I open my eyes and, no paying attention to pain in chest, sit on place. How sane cold! All my clothes, hair and face is wet. Members of the organization stand around, and in full force. Unofficial and disheveled look everyone. Apparently I picked them up too early. A strong hand is here same sharply, with a loud bang, it falls on me shoulder. This is Heiden's hand, who shouts loudly about how glad you are to see me. Conan sits down on knees close and hugs me. From she smells pleasantly of something sweet. Itachi, smiling sincerely, extends his hand and ruffles my hair. People around me smile and rejoice at my return to this world. Even Pain tries to hide his excitement in eyes. They were all worried about me. My heart ached pleasantly answered to smiles and joy. I smile, looking absent-mindedly at guys. Are the most notorious and dangerous criminals rejoice to me? I probably never I'll get used to this. Lump in breasts let you know yourself with a cutting pain. It's like hot iron between the ribs. I put my palm to source of discomfort, and I close my eyes. When will it end? Ripple next to quite palpable in the heart. It's funny, I'm like Kakuzu, I have more than one heart. But it's not heart at all. My actions are not hiding from Guy's eyes, and Itachi states that I need peace in lair. Nice guy, understands me, for what am I incredibly grateful to the Uchiha. Eat and I had a rest would absolutely not superfluous. You're right, Itachi not the leader speaks loudly, Naruto needs peace. Please leave us. Itachi started to argue with Red, but with one gesture, Pain orders everyone to leave. Uchiha with looks at him with excitement apparently pondering the words of the leader of the organization. What same he fears? Well, Itachi, everything is fine, go with everyone. I smile reassuringly at the guy and I nod my head towards the retreating people. The brunette lowers his eyes and glances sideways at Pain and is deleted. What is this Is it with is something going to happen to me? Pain with looks at him with an impassive face back to the retreating guy. What's happening? Turning my head towards to me, the redhead comes a little closer and sits on land. His violet eyes look into soul. Behind quiet steps are heard behind you. Not I turn around because the pain is in breast pain may resume again. Yes, and I am without sight. I feel like it's Nintendo. Isn't Pain believes me on word? Why does he need a second body? The long-haired one is already standing behind my back, and his quiet breathing. The smooth waves of his energy speak of that he calm. Behind month I learned to capture other people's moods. What happened? Goes straight to leader of the case. You want to know why I was he unconscious? The fact that all my thoughts are like it's very stressful on the palms. Yes, the redhead answers, I feel in changes for you. It's like something new has appeared in your energy. It's connected with the nine-tailed fox? What is he achieves? Pain has never before started talking about wash my bijou. But scares me the most that this conversation takes place in private. He looks at him expectantly me. Of course, because Nintendo will give him information from my head. There is no point in lying to him. Kurama's chakra floats in the air. Even me her I feel it. Yes, lowering my head, I answer question. Tell everything you are saw. Pain continues the interrogation. With a loud growl, Kurama focused the light into one paw, swung and was stabbed him with all his might my chest. Breathing here same stolen, and blood flowed from his mouth. Now the pain is in hand from burns, from twisted bones seem to me like scratches on compared to this one. The ribs seem to be cracked, the lungs are barely getting oxygen, and my heart is beating desperately somewhere deep inside damaged breast. This memory naturally pops up in memory. Clearly the soul collector saw this. But Kyubi scratched me. Kurama pierced my hand with his claws, after which I lost consciousness, I say, but I look at him clearly eyes. Why do you need this? I should know what happened to my student, the redhead answers and gets up with places. You I'm sure there won't be more, remember? Certainly, I respond immediately. You believe to me? I just want to make sure that you honest with by me. The leader throws and gives me his hand. Pain helps me get up. What should I do with this pain? Every step heats up a bright lump of pain in breasts, but tell him about this means admitting that I all same not before I'm completely frank with him. Need to talk to Itachi. He should know exactly what's going on. Do this. Approaching lair, I notice a crowd in identical raincoats. The entire organization in collection and ready for departure. I nod. I see Itachi among them. That means he stayed at home. But where same they are coming? Haydn smiles slyly and winks me, in that while others obediently look on. Pain. Conan steps forward and hands the leader a cloak with red clouds. Nintendo is here same disappears behind my back. Not I'm surprised it's not for the first time he so it is deleted. Probably its own characteristics. Naruto, addressed to me the head of Akatsuki, buttoning his cloak, we forced to leave urgently. Organization affairs. Leaving you alone is dangerous for your same health. Knowing your affection for Itachi, me let him stay. I think he will help you deal with your problem, he adds, so that I only hear I. It was like I was electrocuted. He knows, and oh pain, and oh Kurama, and oh light. He heard everything. Calm down, you need to look good-natured, as always. Good luck you guys with I say with a smile. I hope you bring something tasty. Well, how can you not love such beauty? With Haydn screams with emotion. Sometimes it seems to me that the priest of Jashin does not speak quietly. Ken. In any case, now the guy correctly noticed about my cute appearance. At least somehow it helped break this awkward pause. To be honest, several people in identical raincoats looked quite intimidating. If would I lived in village, and this gang came for me in this way, I would chose not go out with them. Well, or run away from Konoha. Looking in backs to those leaving, I can't help but think about this whole situation. The fox thrust into I'm red hot the ball, which is the embodiment of his power. Then they began to interrogate me, in parallel with this reading my thoughts. Well and well. Shaking my head, I open the door and I find myself in living room. We need to finish everything with Bijou, otherwise I'll get rid of all this uncertainty. Although, get some of the fox's power pretty good for my age. I go down and I see many identical doors. Finding Itachi is not at all difficult, because only one room is saturated with his chakra. Door to his chambers are like this same as mine and other. Neither signs, no any other differences. Is this really a sign that everyone is equal? I knock and I humbly await an answer. Rustling behind the door makes it clear that the owner of the room is on place. After a couple of moments, Itachi opens to me. The guy let his black hair down, which is why he looks quite unusual. And he's still wearing his pants and t-shirt in grid. The brunette lets me in room and closes the door. His home looks peculiar. A made bed in another part of the room than in my carpet. On the nightstand lie the crossed-out Konoha protector and an open book, a cloak hanging calmly on hanger. I always knew that he neat. Interesting, huh? Where's same my protector? Yes, remember a month later just great. In the corner of the room there is a chair on with a black shirt neatly folded. There is a comb near the sink. Apparently someone loves their hair. On mirror that hangs a little higher and the symbol of the Uchiha clan is scratched in the corner. Is he really regrets what he did? Uchiha approaches sink and, looking at mirror collecting hair and tail. So he looks more familiar. Do not you I get tired of constantly combing there? Sitting down on someone else's bed, I ask with a grin I care never with your own body gets boring the guy calmly declares, to that no, everyone is as lucky as you. That's what it's about speaks. Why is he smiling so slyly? What a sissy weather case me, tousled my blonde hair and handsome. To that well, constantly waste time on care too long. It is better to use this time by training your body. From this and there's more sense in combat. Ball and breasts let you know to yourself. Wincing and hissing from pain, I press my left hand more and more tightly to breasts. I want to feel this all the time. The Uchiha notices my condition and removes my shirt. Sai pulls the chair towards beds and sits down opposite me. The guy's hands rest on my shoulders and squeeze tightly there. Black eyes carefully and seriously look into my. The face is tense, the lips are tightly compressed. What is he does? The guy's eyelids close tightly. It's time to meditate. After a couple of moments, my eyes open wide, allowing me to see in all its glory the Mangekyo Sharingan. Never before have I saw this dojutsu. It is much more beautiful than Sasuke's unfortunate 3-tomo. The drawing begins to rotate very quickly, which may make it appear that the pupil has become larger in size. 3 times. My head was spinning and I closed my eyes. A barely perceptible breeze got entangled in hair, and hands disappeared from shoulders. Unpleasant feeling of emptiness, and the cold has arrived a replacement for the warmth of other people's palms. My eyes are still closed, but a barely audible growl from the fox forces it to open there. Next to Itachi stands by me and look at the way Kurama's giant pitch darkness creates light in pause. The light is getting brighter, and now I see myself entangled in the tails of a demon. I can guess what will happen next. The fox shouts same the very words that V first once, swings and sticks the ball into me. At this sight I felt a nagging pain in breast. Uchiha, no looking at me, stretches out his hand and pushes me hard shoulder. I'm coming to yourself, floating somewhere on edge of sleep and reality. Itachi is also hovering opposite me. Nothing around no. We as if in weightlessness. And the Sharingan still burns in his eyes. Again these are his illusions. Soon allergy to them will begin. In split second he turns out to be nearby and glaring, punches my chest with his fist. I don't so painful, so amazing. How did he did this? The other person's hand is completely in my body, and I barely feel it this. Even blood no. Uchiha looks at everything me, not coming off. Slowly he starts to pull out his hand. And it seems to me that with her he pulls my life. A light glows in the brunette's hand. Exactly the same as Vikubi's paws. Bright, hot, powerful incarnation of the 9-tailed demon. Itachi looks at him in fascination. This ball. About how same he thinks? This what Kurama gave you, the apostate says in fascination, terrible power. But even this cannot be called part of the Kyuubi's power. Rather, it is a small piece. But even with her, with your help, you can destroy any village. You can stand it whether you such strength? Asked the owner of the illusion, raising his bloody eyes to me. If you want I can share with you with this smiling, I answer I. In fact, I am terribly curious to use this terrible power. But on what's her direct? I can stand it. The brunette answers seriously. Even Jinchuriki are painful to wear this, and I'll drop dead as soon as the ball is into me. But I didn't bring you here for this. Itachi lowers his hand, and the ball continues to hang in space. This light will bring you pain if it is near heart. Gradually the ball can weaken the work of the muscle, so you need to separate his. You can do it this? I asked the guy with excitement. If my heart burns, then I need to throw away this flame dot. I can try to divide it into 4 parts and place in your limbs, the Genjutsu master concluded. The guy walked away from ball, and his body began to become covered in orange chakra. She's not at all similar to Fox chakra. Even through illusory reality I feel the power of his energy. A skeleton appeared around the Uchiha chakras. The bones are here same covered with ligaments, muscles, skin and finally armor. Orange samurai consisting of energy of the brunette raised a huge sword above his head and brought him down sharply. Ball. A loud crash was heard. The ball is still intact and on there is a weapon on it. The samurai leans on his whole ghostly body, and after a few seconds the ball bursts into 2 parts. I turned my gaze to Uchiha. He recoiled and covered his eye with his palm, which a drop of blood rolled down and fell somewhere in the abyss. Is this ball really so strong that even the chakra of the Uchiha clan tears apart with difficulty his? Itachi extends his hand. This same the movement is performed by a samurai. The master of illusions then connects the middle and thumb. The ghost does that same the most, connecting the 2 parts of the ball. Even from afar it is clear that the power of the kyubi, now consisting of 2 parts, will connect again. The samurai is already swinging his huge weapon. On this time the light disconnects much faster. The orange chakra instantly dissolves, leaving behind only particles, and the owner holds all 4 parts in his free hand palms. He fits me and removes his hand from faces. The blood has already dried, staining the skin of the face and palms. Itachi quickly plunges each piece into part of my body and breaks the illusion. We're going back to room. He succeeded. Burning in no more breasts is felt. Only unnatural warmth in hands and legs lets you know about that the fox's power is still with me. What did Kurama eat? Wanted me to crack from your strength, and how would not so? Itachi's head falls on me shoulder. What is this he? Something wet and hot. Blood. I quickly pick up the Uchiha shoulders. My strength has increased 10 times if I easily lifted the guy and laid on bed. From blood flows from the eye. Need to do something. I get up and I'm trampling on place. What to do? Yes, we need rags. Yes. Need a wet bandage. Wipe the blood off faces. Where are the rags? This clean guy should have a towel. I open the nightstand and I throw out all the contents. Some papers, drawings, letters, brushes and ink. I am also among this junk. I found a blue towel. I grabbed the fabric here, same got her wet cold water and sat on bed next to Itachi. He breathes weakly. Breathe well, Uchiha. I carefully wiped the blood off someone else's face. I wet the towel again and I put it on brunette forehead. Well, Itachi. Open your eyes, look at me. Say something. Read the notes about what I'm like, not neat. I'll take it for cold hand and not I notice how I begin to slowly sway on place. Is he really, will he die? No. He not will die. I not I'll allow it. I jump up with places and I start cutting circles room. If everyone comes back then learn about the power given to me by the demon. Red will find out that I not everything told him that Itachi helped to me. Why me I think so? Because the Uchiha's reaction to Redhead is more than strange. They both know something. But not now about this. We need to wake up the black-haired one. So he did? Created a samurai from energy and... Yes. Hear it. I spent a lot of energy, so I need to return it her. But how to do it? I clasped my head in my hands. Think. I conveyed to him the power of the elements. Yes, exactly. What if Akatsuki returns? Yes, spit. I'm approaching with beds and I carefully pull the towel off guy's head. I lift the brunette to hands, feeling an unnatural warmth in hands. As if he had become stronger 1,000 once. But now we need to hurry. My legs are literally on fire. Of course it's me behind. I reached it in a couple of minutes glades. It's like my body is moving on its own to yourself. I carefully lower the Uchiha onto land. Damn, I know no healing techniques. Here comes Conan, I'll take a couple of lessons. And now let's think. I touch with one palm earth, and second to Itachi's stomach. Energy is not kept myself waiting, and here I am already transferring healing powers to brunette body. After sitting like this for about 10 minutes, I vaguely begin to remember an unfamiliar voice repeating something about age-old wisdom, rinnegan, friends enemies. On the fox's voice is not seems like. Really, am I hallucinating? What the nonsense? My friends enemies? No, I just screwed myself up. This is because of Itachi's strange behavior. When he comes to his senses, I'll ask what the he's a circus arranged. Now you need to give him enough strength. Chapter 10. After a few painful minutes the guy came to myself. This is an incredible relief. If I died, I never Smog would forgive yourself for this. I throw myself at neck of Itachi, who sat down, inhaling the smell of his hair. I get sentimental next to by this guy. The Uchiha absent-mindedly hugs me. The answer is still not understanding what is happening. What the hell are you arranged, Itachi? Bouncing off warm body, I ask indignantly, what is this? Circus with loss of consciousness? A bickering with pain? Not would you like to explain? Loss of consciousness from overwork, the Uchiha says calmly. Not every day I call upon Susano on genjutsu. And how are you? Expressed himself, arguing with leader. He smiled slyly. It's very simple to explain. I'm jealous. What? I am ready to start being indignant, but when I hear his cheerful laugh, I involuntarily smile. Looks like an adult, huh? You're acting like a child. Not all same, you should be fooling around. The guy grins contentedly and gets serious again. View. How are you feeling? You know, I examine the hands, then turn my gaze to Itachi. You just a genius. Saw would you with what speed am I fled here, and with you on hands. This is incredible. The Uchiha smiles condescendingly, and says he was glad to help to me. I seem just happy sitting next to by this guy. He amazing. And the fact that he killed his own family, well not I believe that he wanted this. This is not maybe. And anyway, I'll find out someday. And now I need to eat, so hungry. I get up with places and I reach for Itachi's hand. He looks thoughtfully on palm then on me, but all same accepts help. In such moments he reminds me of his brother's lethargy. What not maybe not annoy. Uchiha what, everyone is like that. But I too much glad, so no I will focus on this. Now would swallow 3 servings of ramen. I hope Akatsuki isn't there yet or back. Although I would glad to see the idiot Haiden or the boring Sasori. Behind so many days I managed to make friends with him. Not I deny that his impassivity annoys me, but just need to say a few words about art. It just blows his mind. And it's pretty funny. If Deidara is still around. Concert on half a day is guaranteed. Why are you quiet? Pushing the Uchiha into side, I ask cheerfully. Now we will eat all the supplies and get a reprimand from Conan, and maybe Pain would be willing to train me. I close my eyes dreamily and I lay my hands behind head. I just thinking, the guy answers. Do you really want to listen to our Conan's angry tirade? With Itachi asks with a grin. Not I know I'm in such a good mood. I ready to move mountains. By the way, not a bad idea. But it's somehow not good to spoil nature. The Uchiha just grins. He understands perfectly well that my strength is limited, that's more than enough. We arrived at place. The house was empty. The guys are still on its mission, so everyone's lair is at our disposal. I rush to table and I'm in a hurry to make 2 servings of ramen. Surely the Uchiha is hungry too. The divine smell is here, same dizzy, causing your mouth to fill with saliva. I love ramen. I put 2 plates on table, put chopsticks on each of them, and I invite the black-haired renegade to dine with me. And my invitation from joyfully accepted. More wood. No one can stand before my charm will stand. What kind of plans for you today? With I'm interested in you with my mouth full guy. Talk with you can't eat a mouthful, the Uchiha says displeasedly. Not even I know. I'll probably throw on a raincoat, and I'll go scare people, the guy says completely emotionless. Looking at my surprised face, Itachi laughs loudly. Like a child, honestly. Relax, today rest for me. I need to fully recover from today's procedure. Next we will eat at absolute silence. Now it is so necessary. By the way, if Pain refuses to train me while I'll learn a few techniques, then you'll have to ask someone to help to me. With Itachi and I am fire, I already figured it out. 4 more elements remain. Kisame controls water, and what am I'm thinking about it. Kakuzu masters all the elements. It's creepy, of course, but nothing to do. With not like a shark alone either, too nice to be. Already Hoshigaki is too sarcastic. Thank you, Naruto. Itachi breaks the silence. I'll go and rest. Since you behind master, remove the plates. With these words, the Uchiha runs downstairs. No, well, which same impudence. And cook and clean it up. Maybe he should also wash the floors. Now. I'm dissatisfied. I'm raking all the plates off table and I trudge towards sink. No, well, an impudence. I turn on the water and I wash the dishes. I found my owner. I not made. I scrub dirty plates with a sponge. Free labor. That's it, the dishes are ready. I wipe it dry and I bed on place. Insolent. But I good one, let him live. I'm trudged towards sofa and I plop down on him. Now you need to sit and obediently wait for the others. No, I guess I will ask the leader about training. I know it, I've already learned it. Will look at me as on the last idiot, and will say with a serious look, no, you not learn nothing. You need to control your chakra in order to continue to use it skillfully and blah blah blah. Therefore, let Kakuzu, I'll be messing around for another day, but there and new workout with redhead, yes, this will be most correct. I cross my legs, place my hands palms up on knees, close my eyes, and I'm starting to meditate. I notice that the energy of elements can be collected in anywhere, even home. But it's still better to do it on the street. That's now healing powers fill my body. It seems to me that it is possible not at all sleep if you gain strength every once. Finally I feel the flow of alien energy. They're coming back. How same I waited for a long time. I continue my meditation, feeling other people's powers. The chakra flows are increasing, which means they are already close. Not I stand it, and I look in window. Akatsuki are like tough guys with stone-faced, moving towards doors. Already gives me goosebumps skin. Hello, little one. With greeting Haiden almost rips the door off loops for what gets a slap on the head from your partner. The door is intact. Fuck off, Kakuzu. Rubbing his head, the priest snaps and again addresses to me. Well, what, blonde, did I bring? Some treats for you. The renegade throws on table bag with products. Ignoring his barbs, I approach table and I'm sorting out the hotel. Several custard ramen, rice, fish, lots of vegetables. Not poorly stocked. Where same you did you get all this? I'm interested in those who came, and I sit on it myself chair. We're lucky today. Haiden cheerfully boasts. We came across rich scoundrel and they cleaned out his kitchen. I would took more, yes, some people don't allowed. With these words the priest of Jashin glances angrily at Pain, who took off his cloak and Conan gave it to him. The girl is here same went down. Is it true, Kakuzu intervened, why we not cleaned out this lazy fellow? You his house full of free food. In my opinion, to save money you need to visit him, and not buy it yourself. We not the thieves, the red-haired man remarks menacingly. This was the first and last times when we petty stealing I'm going. None dared to contradict the leader. In perfect silence reigned in the living room, broken only by the steps of those leaving their chambers of the apostates. I left alone with my teacher. I see Itachi did a good job on you, Pain noted, sitting on sofa. I asked him about help. Lowering my gaze, I answer evasively. Again this unpleasant feeling of deception. Why do you ask the Uchiha, and not me? So what should I tell him? Thankfully, Nintendo is here. No, that's why my thoughts are not will fall into other people's networks. I nod. I wanted to bother you with trifles. I lower my head guiltily. I'll pretend to be a good girl and hope this helps. You subjected Itachi to great stress. Pain gets up from place, clasps hands back and starts walking around room. He capable fighter. His mind is weakly exposed to enemy influence. But he's specialist in genjutsu, and means dangerous and strong man. I see your strong friendships. Maybe this is fine. You do need friends. Thank you. Looking at him, I say quietly. For some reason, it seems to me that his every word, every action is filled with falsehood. He definitely hiding something. I'm starting to nod. I like everything this. But I too weak for any action against him. No, I must prepare to defend his life if necessary. While I'm building a fool and goody two-shoes to divert eyes, maybe we can all have dinner together today. Like a real family? If you are, you can join if you want, says Pain and turns to me. I hope it's not between us. There will be no omissions from now on. I nod. No way will do. He's something is hiding. Why I must be honest with him. We play on the same rules. I get up from chair and going down to corridor. Now I need Kakazu. I can even imagine how I can lure this savings lover into in case of his refusal. What he just agree? Yes, quite doubtful. Already he's too much love's benefits. Finding his room is not at all difficult. From her the owner reeks of the chakra of the 5 elements for kilometer. Neither with what not confuse. I knock and waiting for an answer. The door is opened by a renegade. Thank heavens, he must not manage to remove it in differences from cloak. Never I will believe that the rinnegan bearer has the wrong door, the green-eyed one says, grinning. And you'll be right. Not I will stand on ceremony with him. The appearance of a sewn-up body is not evokes pleasant emotions. You can go? The door opens wider. Uncertainly I enter room. Table littered with papers, the first thing that rushes into eyes. Underneath is a huge iron safe. Near there is a chair at the desk. I turn my gaze to bed. A perfectly tucked stock holds some drawers and boxes. Probably, there are threads for sewing on body. And there are also a lot of papers on the nightstand. Cloak on hanger, towel sinks, mirror perfectly clean. They with Itachi went crazy cleanliness. You wanted something? Kakuzu asks, leaning his back against wall. Yes, I take the chair for I move my back towards center of the room. I throw my leg over and I sit down with my hands folded in front of me. I need your help. I hope not financially? No money I'll give you, warns the renegade. Well and petty man. Never I'll become such a stingy person. No, rather the opposite, and that same light lit up in his eyes. What you mean? Does looks like he doesn't care. But Rinnegan know you will deceive. Waves leaving from him, cleaned up. This speaks of that he excited. I suggest getting out to some village and clean out the most profitable place, this and is my plan. Behind that time that I live here I am managed to study each person. Kakuzu doesn't likes to make excuses to the leader like this, same as not likes to argue with him. But every time he does everything his own way. The idea of the robbery must touch his stingy heart. Snotty kid thinks about money? The green-eyed man asks incredulously, what do you need? I want to listen to the whining about what I took you away from Lair. Suddenly will you run away? No, really. Not fool me, boy. So do you want to penetrate Konoha in the dead of night? Looking at his room, I say lazily I go to Dango restaurant with back door, open the cash register, and take out the groceries. Have enough courage? With the renegade asks with a grin. This makes me happy, because I almost agreed. I owner of the Rinnegan, remember? But before that I need something from you. Kakuzu nodded, and I continue, teach me the techniques of the 5 elements. Everyone you know. That's how we not let's rob your noodle shop and in 100 years. I learn quickly. I continue to convince my interlocutor, give me a week and we let's go for profit. The wired one thought, well, Kakuzu. Are you really not? Would you like to purchase from himself? Is there another safe in the room? I just need to show the techniques. Okay, Uzumaki, the apostate says firmly, moving away from walls, in fact. But money me. And I'm going you. Time for education week starting from tomorrow day. I get up from chair. I approach him and I shake hands. He's still hesitating, but it's already late. I'm leaving rooms and I'm going to yourself. In a week I will need new clothes and mask. If we are noticed, then it would be quite awkward to frame Akatsuki. It's so strange to return to your true house. If everything goes smoothly, then you can run to in yourself apartment. If of course she's not sold. I'm falling on bed and I stare mindlessly for a few minutes ceiling. The smell of something tasty penetrates my room. Dinner is coming soon, I forgot. So I'll be a good girl and now. Cute boy mask. Not that's how it is and badly. None knows my true goals. Even I. But it's not for long. When I become strong, I'll definitely come up with a way to find out Pain's secrets. Naruto, get up! Haiden shouts, opening the door to my room. Dinner time. What? Well, the main thing, keep yourself in hands. I'll sing, I'll listen to the priest's ravings, I'll laugh and go to sleep. Exactly. I get out of bed and rush to the living room.